Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, and welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And without planning it, this is a Krishna miracle. Me and Kaustubha have the same shirt on.
Krishna miracle. What are the chances of that?
What are the chances?
Incalculable.
Lots of t-shirts. We're live on Zoom today with 94 people who, these guys listen every day. They're a bunch of religious zealots. They listen every day at 5 in the morning. Who are they? But actually, most of the people listen as others. They're out there listening on their favorite way. They get podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, leaving their comments. It's good to leave comments. You know that? It helps our rankings. And if you are listening out there and we don't know you, like I know all these Zoom people, I'm like buddies with them all, but these others, they're mysterious. They're like spies. If you're one of the others out there, tell us your story right into Apple Podcasts and you can leave a review. First, you give us 5 stars and then you write a review and don't forget that part. And then you write your story about like how you came to the show and if you like it and what you're doing and tell us your story. We want to hear your journey home. Everything good, Kaustubha?
Yeah, everything's great. You know, I got this whole thing like New York City Harinam is back in town. It's like every day I just drop in on them. You know, it's.
You drop it in.
I just drop in. Yeah, it's what an opulence. You know, like you don't even have to set the whole thing up. It's just there, and you just pop in the afternoon. And the weather's beautiful. September weather in New York's great. So it's been nice to see the devotees and go out there and do a little kirtan. Yeah.
I am doing kirtan on my own.
Okay.
I am my nonstop headphones in my head. Check this out. So with my son, we've been listening to the Krishna Dharma Audible Mahabharat. Whenever we get in the car, and we always have to drive to
Rocco or
Rocco has
Tarun.
they have a collective homeschooling thing.
Okay.
So I drive him to the forest in the middle of the woods. There's just like 15 by 15 post and beam like little structure where they have a little morning thing with Krishna Kumari's kid and a couple other kids. And we listen. So it's a 19-minute drive, and we listen to the Mahabharata the whole time.
19
and my
minutes
little
of
son, my 6-year-old's in the car too, and he's like, well, I want to listen to something too. And so with him, I said, okay, you and me, we're going to listen to the Ramayan together.
Oh,
so whenever I'm in the car with him alone, we listen to Ramayan. Then I listen to Mahabharata with him. And then privately, I listened to Krishna Dharma's 3rd book that he did on Audible, which is the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, which is great for all you guys to listen to. I should get a percentage of this. But it's the first canto. And strangely enough, another Krishna miracle, I'm at the exact same point because the first canto covers a part of the Mahabharata where Ashwatthama gets chastised and Draupadi shows her munificence and her compassion. That Ashwatthama just did this horrible act of killing all those sleeping children, and Draupadi, in one sense, they want justice. Even Krishna's saying, you need justice, and Draupadi's saying, you know what? We're going to let this go. He is the son of your teacher, therefore he represents your teacher. He's from a Brahmin family, and we're just going to forgive him. I won't want to see his mother feel like the way I feel right now. And Draupadi was so beautiful. So
And
anyway,
then Bhima says, no, justice.
Bhima says kill him, and Krishna says
There's
get rid
a
of this guy.
mercy-justice dichotomy going on
It's
there
the
big
mercy
time.
justice scale, isn't it? It's
Yep.
that scale is always there in my life. You want justice or you want to be merciful. But my point is here, all day long while I'm walking around, I got these new Apple earbuds, and I'm just hearing one of those 3 books all the time, and it's affecting my dreaming. I'm having very spiritual dreams. It's very good.
All right.
And I'm realizing there is a big pull to hear material conversation, to hear mundane things. I didn't realize how attached I was to stuff like that.
But you're not anymore.
No, I'm noticing it. I'm just forcing myself. No, I'm not going to let anything. It's just like when you're.
It's called yoga
you're on a
right
fast.
there. That's
When
sense
you're on a
control.
fast, you're like, okay, I can't eat that. I can't eat this. You realize how attached you are to these things. And so what I'm realizing, I'm attached to mundane sound, and Krishna's trying to purify me now. So. and
I
it's
admire
good.
that, Raghu. I admire that. My wife's like that. She's kind of like that naturally, you know. She just.
Who?
My wife.
Your wife's saintly.
Yeah, she every evening, you know, she's been doing different things, but now she's on for a while, you know, Dina Bandhu was doing like a talk every day, you know, during COVID. I think he stopped now. She was listening to that like every evening.
Yeah.
And then now she's listening to, there's all these interviews with Prabhupada's disciples about their times with him. There's like tons of them, tons and tons of hours. And every night she's listening to that. And then what that does is then when we sit down like at a meal to talk or something like that, that's all we talk about is that stuff too.
Yeah.
It's nice, you know.
She's like you're like a Vanaprost, I guess, right? Without the forest, without the Van.
Central Park is our Vaughn, I suppose.
Yeah. And
Ready?
it's making me go to bed early. It's making me wake up early. It's good. It's all good.
You are on fire, Raghu.
I am. I'm a little bit on fire.
You know, I feel like this is like it's like a 2-month Kartik this year. Right?
Because of the extra leap month,
Because
right?
of the Purushottam Mas, right? So normally that Kartik is this month, it comes at about this time in the year, and there's some extra focus and some extra reading going on and some extra control. But now, so we got 2 months of it in a row because it's Purushottam Mas, and then Kartik will follow right behind it. Kind of nice.
It's very nice. It's 2 holy months. And everybody's sending me photos from last year's pilgrimage because we were on pilgrimage at this time last year.
Oh, yeah. That's,
Stirring up all these emotions in me.
Okay.
Krishna. All right. I love how devotees say things like that. Oh, Krishna. Ever do this one when you sneeze and instead of saying achu, you say achuta?
yeah, I've
Achuta
heard it
is like
many
a name for
times.
Krishna. It means the infallible. So I've switched all my achus to achutas. That way I get to chant
All right.
while sneezing. Okay. I thought you guys would be like, yeah, that's great. No one's saying anything. It was like a golf clap. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Golf clap. Shall we start?
We shall.
Narayanam namaskritya naram shaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. For regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyanatamrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmotam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srimad Bhagavatam, providing real-world tools for transforming daily life. That's what we're doing here today.
All right.
And we are in Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text
11.
Text 11.
Maybe we do a quick little Setting the scene here, huh?
17. By the way, I'm doing a Sweet Baby Krishna tonight at 8 p.m. If you want to go to sleep with yours truly, reading you Krishna's stories. Come join
When is
me.
that? When?
8 p.m. on Patreon.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Man, we got a good week on Patreon going this week. Cause also Friday. What's happening Friday, Mara?
Friday, Madhu's offering an Ayurveda questions and answers. So if you've had questions about Ayurvedic lifestyle, diet, those things, you can ask Madhu on Friday at 6 p.m.
Madhu's back.
Yeah.
Madhu's back.
The multi-talented and adorable Madhu.
It's adorable. He is adorable. You ever figure like I don't want my Ayurvedic doctor to be adorable. I want some old man, like 200 years old, that's like in perfect shape.
All right.
All right. The process of creation.
So, I was mentioning that verses 1 through 4 in this chapter, that those verses, they describe Maharaj Pariksit letting go of all his attachments and his responsibilities, right? He's there now. He's in front of Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami has answered his first question about what's the duty of a person who's about to die. He's taken it in. He's impressed. And now, verses 1 through 4, he was like just letting go of all responsibility, letting go of all material attachments, all his opulences. He's left all that behind. That's the past. He's got his 7 days left. He's going to focus. And then he put questions to Shukadeva Goswami, which in verses 5 through 10. And basically the question was, how does the Supreme Lord engage his different energies, his Shaktis, and his different expansions, Atmanam is the word used for that, in creating, maintaining, and again, winding up the material world? We spoke about it like a spider yesterday, right?
Yeah, that was a very good analogy.
It's a good one, right? So he's saying, how does he engage his different energies, his Shaktis, and his different expansions, the different Vishnu expansions and the Devas and so on? How does he engage them in creating, maintaining, and then withdrawing the material world? That was the question. And the next chapter is going to get real exciting because the way that he's going to explain it all is through a conversation, fascinating conversation, between Brahma, the creator, and his son, Narada.
Very cool.
It's really great stuff.
Kaustubha, I run into two classes of people.
Oh.
That's in
those
general.
that
The demon,
show you respect and those that don't.
divine and the demonic. No, it's the people who think like, well, I want spirituality to be very simple. Like I want one God to pray to, and that's my God. And you guys have like thousands of gods and avatars and saints. It's just too confusing. Mm-hmm. But I think the idea is that there is one God to pray to. It's both.
Right.
It's like it's simple if you want to keep it simple. But just like a clock, a simple clock, it's very simple. That's the time. But once you take the face off the clock, there's so many inner workings of that clock. So it's understood. It can be very, very simple. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the Vedas give like all the information. Of course, it should also be complicated. A clock just can't magically move the hand. There's got to be inner workings. So sometimes we hear about, the name of this chapter is the process of creation, and then we're going to get into multi-avatars and how the avatars, the Prajapatis giving birth to living entities and the creation of the universe. It's like, this is too complicated. Can't I just pray to God? Yes, you can. You can just look at the clock. But if you want the inner workings of spiritual life, the metaphysics, that you break this stuff down, it's also here.
It's all there.
So some of us are going to be attracted to the very simple. We're going to be attracted to maybe Krishna's pastimes. And some of us are like physicists. We want to break this down. We want to put this in like our rational brain. That's there too. That's the beauty of the Bhagavatam.
Which one are you? Which one are you?
I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man. I don't need to figure out how to tell, how to build a clock. I just tell time.
But still, even but we're all encouraged to actually study both, though, too, right? In other words, that by understanding about the creation and so on, it helps us understand that sweet little baby Krishna is not just an ordinary baby.
Well, I think it's also important for everybody to also constantly discern with their mind, with their intelligence, to feel like, well, like, what do I actually believe? Like we were saying the other day, what do I actually believe, and what do I just sort of accept, and what do I actually know? Did I say that on Sweet Baby Krishna, Mara, or did I say it? I said we should write down what we actually know to be true. I think I said it maybe in a live class. And then what stuff am I just believing? Because you got to be careful. You're not just believing too much without actually being anchored in what you really know. And it's good, I think, to write down, I know that controlling my senses is good for me. I know that chanting helps me control my mind. I know there's something I feel that's different in kirtan than just singing regular songs. I know that, vegetarianism is an important, it's important for me to develop compassion. I know. And it's good to write down what you know, because there's a lot of big leaps of faith sometimes. And sometimes people just see it all as a leap of faith. But there are certain things that brought us here that we really know. What I find is people who are new on the path, Kaustubha, hear me out with this one.
Yeah,
people who are new on the path, sometimes they'll be like, okay, yeah, this is good. And they get swept up in the bhakti party. And then someone challenges them and they're just like, yeah, this is crazy. This is too crazy. What am I believing? That God's a cowherd boy? What? And there's demigods? What? And there's higher planets? What? And I'm wearing a robe? What? And I got this stuff on my forehead? What? And all of a sudden they give up everything. It's good to know what you know and write it down. This is what I know. That way, if something gets challenged or your faith gets shaken, you go back to your basics. And the basics are really good. And therefore, we're just taking little leaps of faith. You don't have to jump all the way to Lanka like Hanuman. You'd have to there's a little leap of faith. And there's certain things I definitively know in my bhakti path. And I will say, as I get older, some of the things that even when I was in my 20s, I was like, I don't know about that. Now I was like, yes, definitely that. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
I appreciate it, Raghunath.
Increments of faith.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Commonly when someone challenges your faith, what they challenge is those things that you can't prove, right? So like, for instance, you're saying that this God, he's a boy and he lifts this hill, like, how am I going to illustrate that to you? That is something that I accept based on faith, but there's reasoning behind it. And let's talk about that reasoning. Let's talk about what is more within in the realm of like rational thought. Like you're saying, like for instance, these books teach, like for instance, how the mind relates to the body, relates to the self. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the processes of yoga directly are geared and designed as ways to control the mind and the senses. And then let's talk about my own experience of the freedom that I feel from that, the freedom from anxiety, the freedom from confusion, the freedom from being swayed by the movings of this world. Let's talk about the things that I tangibly that have a real kind of rational explanation and that I've put into my life and I've experienced. And based on that, I accept these other things that I could only know by hearing from another source. And rather than just trying to defend the thing that they're never going to be able to understand that they don't have faith in, right? Let's take that to what is more tangible and rational that I've invested in.
Sure.
And then when you look at what they believe, they're also believing all kind of far out things. Any creation story, Big Bang, that's like that
like
takes a lot of faith.
It's a lot of faith to make that thing. We should have had Brahmatir to talk about the Big Bang Theory, because he's one of those guys that can just go right into it. Yeah. We're gonna bring him back for
Science Day.
Science Day. Science meets Aliens Day. Meets Subtle Beings Day.
All right.
Cheers. Okay. So make a list. That's what I call the list. The list of what I know. And then the list of like what is a great leap of faith and what is a little leap of faith. And the interesting thing that people were saying these things, the people are saying, well, Krishna is actually the source of all avatars. Like, who is telling that to us? Is it like Fox or CNN? someone who's got a material agenda. No, it's like people people have their senses completely in control. That people have nothing to gain. People have given up the world. Like the people that we're hearing from, the most authentic news sources. The headlines are "Sweet Baby Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual things. He's the fountainhead of everything. There's no agenda there, and they're having like direct communion with Sweet Baby Krishna at every moment. It's not like they're trying to push something, or they're not, funded by some advertisers. It's pure. It's saints and sadhus have given up the world. They have nothing to gain except just by sharing the love that they already have. So our source of news, so to speak, is from the highest, people with the most integrity.
Oh, you are just lost. Look at this guy. Talking about some fictional, mythical sages walking around the forest.
But the thing is, well, you see, these sages, we hear about these sages, we hear about Yudhisthira, these kingly sages, Maharishis, but you also see them. We have sages in our life. There were sages 100 years ago, 300 years ago. This has never ended. That's what I love about Vedic culture. It is like a tunnel into an ancient world that's never ended. It's hard to find that in ancient cultures. It's hard to go to Athens and find someone worshiping Athena nowadays. It's hard to go to Egypt and find someone connecting to the spiritual practice of Egypt. The Vedic culture never broke. It never broke. It's always been there. There's been people practicing Sanskrit, doing Bharatanatyam, practicing Ayurveda, for doing the pujas and the rituals, worshiping Mother Ganga. That's always gone on. These are like Varanasi, or these ancient cities that you read about them. You read about these cities like Pushkar in the Bhagavatam, which is 5,000 years old, and you hear about them existing millennia previously. I find that fascinating.
Well, I also find it fascinating, and also in my own practices, sometimes I contemplate this. Like, for instance, when you sit down to chant your mantra, meditate on the mantra, you think that 10,000 years ago, someone was chanting the same mantra, right? And today they're still chanting, and 10,000 years from now, someone's gonna be chanting. This is a timeless practice. This connection is a timeless thing, and somehow I've reconnected with it. I've reconnected. Which segues into our theme for the day, Raghunath.
Please share.
It's about connection, because what's happened is, again, the first 4 verses were about Maharaj Pariksit letting go.
By the way, there is a movie called Connection. Did you see that? About Vrindavan? I saw it yesterday.
I didn't see it.
While I was cooking dinner.
Let's send a link over for that. What is that?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to start on the Patreon, on the thread, on the Discord thread.
Yeah.
Good media to watch.
We actually have a thread for that. I just never put it. I've been spacing on
it. It's called Connection, and it's about this guy. It's almost like a drama, but it's all in Vrindavan. It's good. Just YouTube search that. Sorry. So today's story. That was a Krishna miracle there, because I wanted to mention that today.
There you go, another one. Okay, so first 4 verses were about Maharaj Pariksit letting go of everything, and then the next 5 through 10 was the question, basically. Where Maharaj Pariksit is asking, how does Krishna, how does he manifest and maintain and withdraw the material world, the material universe? How does that process work? And so then it gets turned over into Shukadeva Goswami, who's going to start to speak. But the rest of this chapter, the whole rest of this chapter, he's not going to answer the question. He's just going to prepare to answer the question. Okay? He's going to prepare to answer the question. And how is he going to do that? By spontaneously composing verse after verse, poetic verses, glorifying, and by glorifying, bringing his mind to Krishna.
He's not just going to blurt out an answer.
He's not going to blurt out an answer. He's going to, this is his mentality. Anything that my speech is not by my own power. And what to speak of when it comes to representing, the supreme absolute truth.
Sure.
If I'm going to be able to speak it, it will happen by Krishna. Let me connect my mind. Let me plug it in Let me plug my mind into Krishna right now. That's my choice. Will I be disconnected? This is the theme for today, Raghunath. You ready? The theme is, we have one major choice in life at any moment. To either disconnect and live in service of my mind and senses, or to connect and live in service of the root of all existence. Right? That's the choice that we have.
I like this.
Right? It's just
Binary thinking.
Yeah. If I keep it
You're
simple,
either
right?
in Maya.
Or well, basically that's it. We have a choice between illusion
Yeah.
or reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so with that understanding and in his humility, he's not sitting here saying, "Well, I'm the great speaker, right? I walked in here, all the sages put me up on the seat. I'm the man. I got this knowledge." No, he's thinking, I'm just a humble servant. Anything that I can do is by the power of God. Let me reconnect my mind. And so he begins to, well, let's read, and we'll see how he does it.
Okay,
Text 11.
9.
No, text 11. Text 11.
Text 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Find my mouse. Sutta Goswami said, when Sukadeva Goswami was thus requested by the king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus.
Okay.
Sukadeva Goswami said,
Whoa. Let's get into the commentary here.
Okay.
Let's get into the commentary. I think we could spend the rest of the day just on this commentary here. All right. You all right with that?
This is how we're supposed to read. This is how we're supposed to read. Slow. Break it
Slow?
down.
Okay.
The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses.
So there was a word used here, right? In the translation here. Rishikesham.
Rishikesham. What's the name of? Just like the city of Rishikesh or the village of Rishikesh, it comes from this word. It means the Lord of the senses.
The Lord of the senses. That it means, and when we say the senses, we can think of like basically my entire body. It means my senses, but it means my body. Here, the particular concern is the sense of speech, right? Like in yogic circles, there's more than just the 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, but there's also the 5 senses of action. And one of the 5 senses of action is the action of speech. So speech is seen as a sense. And Shukadeva Goswami, this completely, again, right, let's remember how he walked into the scene as like this super transcendentalist. Like he was just so otherworldly that everybody immediately recognized he's on a whole nother level of connection, spiritual connection.
I love how all the cities in India are named after gods and goddesses. Rishikesh, come on.
Yeah, they're trying to turn them all back, right?
Imagine, that's what they're doing. They're putting them all back. Imagine if the United States was like that. Where do you live? Jesus land.
They're probably based on Latin and stuff. There's like names like that, I would imagine.
Well, American cities are based on European cities. Also.
There's a lot of saints.
Yeah,
right?
Good point.
San Francisco, this, that.
Santa Monica, San Pedro,
San Diego.
Not on the East Coast. All the saints were in the West Coast because of the
Spanish influence.
Missionaries.
Yeah. So Rishikesha means the master of the senses, or let's say you can put it this way too, the one that inspires our senses, right? The one that inspires our senses. So here it said, Rishikesham anusmritya. Anusmritya means that a process of remembering. And so he engaged his mind. He was just asked to speak, right? Someone comes up, hey, Raghunath, tell me about this. And then rather than just immediately blurting something out, Raghunath, pauses, right?
Don't laugh, Mara.
No, I know you do, and takes a deep breath.
Think deeply.
And then he reconnects. He goes through a process of remembering. Also, it says here, prativaktum prachakrame. Like we say, like this krama, like prikrama, like the steps that you take.
Stepping.
Yeah, the steps. So he went through some preliminary steps before prativaktam, before he replied. He went through preliminary steps, which involved, again, Hrishikesha Manusmritya, remembering, bringing his mind, intentionally bringing his mind to God, and saying that my power of speech is ultimately controlled by Hrishikesh. Sometimes we try to speak and nothing comes out, right? Sometimes we try to speak and nothing good comes out.
Yeah.
Even we have the same knowledge in our head. Our words don't convey it, or we can't conceive of what to say, or later on we think, I wish I would have said that. How many times have we had that happen before, right?
Well, I find like for teaching yoga class, the best way to prepare for class for me, to never prepare. But
Never prepare.
Never prepare. That's the lesson. That's the takeaway today. No, it's never. I call it never prepare, always prepare. Meaning, on your downtime, always hear transcendental information on your downtime.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you walk into class, and sometimes I walk in late, I find that like if I prepare, I get all in my head and I stumble over words. But if I just go in there, and even if I'm late, and just speak, what's already been stored in my mind will naturally just flow out. And I truthfully believe like all that downtime of hearing, Krishna just sort of takes over what's coming out of your mouth because you've already put it in your head. And I think parents know this too. There's times where we go in and we take a breath and we find like things coming out of our mouth that we don't even know where it's coming from. And that's sort of like a little yoga in its own self. How if you can just get that ego out of the way, that spiritual force will come out of you. And that's sort of like the job of the yoga teacher also too, is to present spiritual information, to pacify people's mind and instruct people, and not without any material motivation of yourself.
Well, I think in one sense it's the role of all of us, right? Whatever it may be. I mean, here we're hearing about this idea.
No, just the yoga teacher and the parent.
All right. Okay. All right, let's move on. But in other words, here we're talking about in terms of speech, what we say. But really, what the Bhakti-yogi is all about is understanding not just my speech, but actually all my actions. I want them all to be consistent with and in harmony with, and in one sense facilitated by the divine will. Right? I want to connect to that energy. So there's so much in the Bhagavad Gita. This, like we throw the word around connection. But really the Gita is using terms that are like that, like yuktanam, like satata yuktanam, always be connected to me. Or nitya yukta, be always connected. So yukta is that the word that's kind of like the root of the word yoga, or union or connection. And so throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is using this term like reconnect with me, just reconnect. And that's the idea that we can disconnect or we can reconnect. When we think that when we disconnect, we become free, right? Like the leaf might be thinking, I wish I was just free, disconnected from this tree, right? But as soon as you disconnect, what you're disconnecting is your very source of life and vitality,
Ooh, this analogy is getting better.
Oh, it's a great analogy, right? But when you connect with the root, well, then you're nourished. Yeah, and you have that vitality. So Shukadeva Goswami, he lives in a constant state of that connection, but he's been asked to speak. And so now he's intentionally connecting his mind through beautiful poetry, through, spontaneously composed poetry, that's just a revelation of his heart. And you can imagine all the sages are sitting there and they're saying, look at the consciousness of this young man, look at the purity of his mind, that he can just speak this poetry and glorification of God. He's not posing as some great speaker. Now you said always prepare, never prepare, always prepare. So in other words, you're saying that your preparation is the regular hearing that you practice in your life. But still, I think by never prepare, you mean that it's not your style to like have elaborate notes and things like that. But still, before you speak, you do your invocation and you do your prayer and you try to is it not the fact?
No, that's true. That's true.
Right. So that's the preparation that kind of is. I don't think Shukadeva Goswami broke out a notebook and some charts and all that. But he.
You know what I do too? Can I tell you another little secret?
The secrets are being revealed today. Raghunath's inner
Secrets unlocking.
Real life tools. Give us the real life tools.
The bundle.
Okay.
Okay. Whether there's students come into class, before class, I prepare by thinking that these people have all been sent to me from Radhanath Swami to love them. Like I have to take care of them on behalf of Radhanath Swami. Like they're not my students. If I think
thought you were
my
going to say they've been
students,
sent to me as my servants or something.
like when someone, like sometimes people, I always say like sometimes people ask you to watch. Hey, can you watch my kids for an hour? I have to go to the store. And so whenever you have someone else's kids, you're extra careful with their kids. Like your own kids can be like playing with chainsaws, climbing down a well, and you're like, whatever. But when someone else's kids are like, are you okay? What do you need? Are you hungry? So there's extra care when you think of them as other people's children. And you really want to take care of them and nurture them. And there's no room for your ego because you're just caring for them and then you're, backing off and not attached like that.
Nice point,
Little tricks of the trade.
Okay. So again, he's bringing his mind to Rishikesh. He's reconnecting, and let's continue with this commentary.
All right. The senses.
Just start the whole thing again, because we only read 2 sentences. So.
All right. The devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord. Nice way to look at it.
I mean,
And
most
that they
people
can be
just
properly used.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
This is all mine, right? They can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are
what a game
instruments.
changer that is, though, right?
Right.
That
Not
like,
your senses.
That, yeah, like, not to get political, but people say this is my body, right? But is it actually our body?
Here you go again with your political rants.
But is it actually our body?
If it was your body, you could keep it.
Yeah, but it's going to get taken away from you. It was given to you. You didn't go out and earn it, right?
It can be. You're right.
And it will be taken away.
It can be abducted at any moment.
There you go. So, but if we think that way, then we realize, like, I am that leaf, right? Like, I can be either connected or disconnected. If I'm connected, I'm seeing my body, my mind, my words, my time, my wealth, my everything. This is called love. My everything is yours. My everything is yours. That's the way that the yogi's actually thinking, the Bhakti-yogi's thinking. And in that way, there's...
I just want to be your everything. Open up your eyes and heart and let me be the things you want to me and not just a puppet on a string.
But actually, they do want to be the puppet on the string, right?
You do want to be the
Fiji's got it all wrong. Apparently, their love wasn't deep enough, But
how deep is your love? Oh my God, is that another BG song?
Yeah, that was what I was doing there, Raghunath. You're catching on.
And they were all liberated souls.
Okay.
Okay, the senses are instruments and elements, and the elements are ingredients, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever the individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. The Bhagavad, all those love songs, you could switch out Krishna for some person, and then all those old love songs, you could make them spiritual love songs. You got to sing them with a Krishna brain.
But do us a favor and don't do it right now.
Okay.
I'm sure you got many examples.
All endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Mara confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hrisanibhisto vata smrti jnanam apoanam cha. No one is free to act freely.
What's the translation of that, Raghunath? Hot.
Sarvasya. I am the source of Smriti Jnanam, right? I'm the source of all memory, forgetfulness,
knowledge.
And knowledge.
But Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Shanavishto, I'm situated in the heart of every living being. Right?
Oh yeah, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi. I'm situated in the heart of all living beings. From me come knowledge, memory, and forgetfulness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just like we say, like, you know, I wish I would have said that. You know, I wish I would have said that then. Well, but Krishna didn't send it to you, you know, at that time.
Come on, give me that, Krishna.
I should have said that.
No one is free to act freely and independently, and as such should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or to eat or to speak. The blessing of the Lord, everything is done by a devotee, is beyond the principles of the 4 defects typical of the conditioned soul. Should we talk about the 4 defects?
Yeah, but let's just hang on for 1 second. Let's talk about those 4 defects. But think about this too. This is the mentality of the yogi, right? It's kind of like, it sounds weird externally, but when you think about it, it's just very, very deep. They should always ask permission of the Lord to act or to eat or to speak. Really what it's saying is that one become more deeply aware of what's really happening, recognize it and appreciate it. You know?
Yeah.
That rather than like a spoiled little child that doesn't recognize all that's being provided for them. Recognize it. Like food, right? Like should imagine sunshine. What else? The rain?
Like the rain. Like
the rain
earth itself. Like, you know.
Yeah, all these things
appreciate all day long.
All these things are provided for me. The food that I'm about to eat has been provided for me. Even the ability to digest that food isn't something that I do. It's provided. The ability to break that food down and for all the nutrients to enter my body and go through the different tissues and give me new, fresh rejuvenation and energy. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Just this
I
delicious
just shove stuff in my mouth without.
Yeah, this delicious food is just provided for me.
I'm looking at Wenkeji right now. She's eating something, and I'm trying to think: is she meditating on it, or is she just checked out? I can't tell.
Is she connected or disconnected?
She's deeply connected. I caught someone chewing during the chewing verse.
So whether it be eating or speaking, here's the example of the speaker. He's super qualified, but he's not thinking this is my qualification. He's not sitting on that seat saying, I'm such a great speaker, here I go. Yeah. He's sitting on that seat and saying, anything that I can speak is actually that Lord in the heart is providing for me. Let me connect. Let me stay connected. Let me reconnect. Or how we act. You know, let my behavior, you know, sometimes we act in ways that we regret, you know. Sometimes we act in ways that we're... Maybe I do, maybe you don't, Raghunath. But...
The story of my life.
So you know, I want to connect in that way too, that all my actions, and these are the way that the great Bhakti-yogis pray, may all my actions, may all my words, you know, may it all be in service, may it all be connected to you. That's not some kind of bizarre kind of sense of dependence or something like that.
Sure.
It's
reality.
It's reality.
It's reality.
And it's love. You know, ultimately, there's a deep sense of divine love that's existing within us, a deep sense of divine love. And now what's being said here is that when we're disconnected, we're prone to 4 types of mistakes or 4 defects. And these are defects, I believe I think it's in the introduction to the Ishopanishad that Srila Prabhupada goes into depth about these. But
have you ever seen this book? It is a great book, especially if you like trivia. It's called
Where are we going?
Nectar by Numbers.
Oh, I've heard about it. Yeah, you've told me
It's a good
about
book. It's a really good book. Check that one out. And it's all like, because when you study the Vedas, they always give like the 4 kinds of defects, you know, the 6 enemies, the stuff like that. You know, whatever. Everything's got it's a list of numbers, things, and they go through the whole book of different numbers, and it's just a great. First of all, it's interesting information. Like we're about to talk about the 4 defects of the humans, and it's a whole book of that, and you can whip them out at transcendental parties and quiz people like Mara. Matter of fact, let's quiz Mara on these and see if she knows the 4 defects right now.
If she was smart, she was looking it up already. Yeah, she was.
You know what? I don't think she did.
That's exactly what I was doing.
Don't look down, Mara. Look at the screen. Do not look down. Look
Okay.
at us.
Okay.
All right.
To cheat, a
Yes.
propensity to cheating.
Kind of like what you were just doing. Okay.
Exactly. To make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. Which is what you didn't want to do.
Exactly. To be illusioned.
To be
Right.
illusion.
I don't think I got to the 4th one though. But I can look down.
To overeat.
Oh, imperfect senses.
Imperfect sense.
Now, the interesting. Now, because Stu, maybe you can answer this one. These 4 almost seem like the same thing, doesn't it?
No.
No. Okay.
How are they the same thing? Each one is different.
I've always felt like they're the same thing.
Well, let's look at it.
To make mistakes, imperfect senses. What was the 4th one?
Cheating propensity, be illusioned.
Oh, be illusioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's make mistakes, sort of.
Not
But anyway,
necessarily.
once you have a
Mistake, like
human
I
body-
might like drop my pen. That doesn't mean I'm illusioned. It means I made a
Okay,
mistake.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone who gets a body gets subject to these 4. What are they called? The 4.
4 defects typical of the conditioned soul.
Yeah.
But let's look at it in terms of speech and speaking, right? Because a lot of this is really in the context of how we get our information about what's real.
Right.
Right. Sukadeva Goswami's just been asked a question. Tell me about how God creates, maintains, and withdraws the universe. Now, Sukadeva Goswami is thinking, I want my words to be free of mistakes. I want my words to be free of illusioned thinking. I want my words to be free of my own potential to cheat another, like pretend I know something that I don't know, for instance, something like that.
Right.
In this case. And I also want my words to be free of any misconclusions, derived through imperfect senses. Right? So in order to do that, I want to connect to the Guru Parampara. Actually, the last verse of this chapter, he offers his respects to his father, his guru, Vyasadeva. Right? So I want to be careful that my words are consistent with his. That way I'll be free from these 4 defects getting in the way, right? Getting in the way of the flow of true spiritual knowledge, true spiritual wisdom, true spiritual energy. If I can be connected to my guru, if I can be connected to God, then let's look at how Srila Prabhupada ended that commentary. He said that no one is free to act freely and independently, and as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or eat or speak, and by the blessings of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the 4 defects typical of the conditioned soul. So through this, through this intention that he made, I don't want to be disconnected. He could have been like, hey, everybody's recognizing me as the big speaker here. I could enjoy this separately. There's some rasa, there's something here for me to enjoy right now, being the guru, being the big speaker, being the center of attention, right? Being the smart guy, whatever it is.
Right.
I could try to enjoy that taste, but that's not where he's at. He wants to be, rather than disconnected, he wants his everything, his words, and even the pleasure and the happiness that he has out in life. He wants it through connection. So he intentionally brings his mind to Rishikesh. The master of the senses, my sense of speech, is ultimately ruled by you. Whether I say something that's connected or disconnected, I'm looking to you and asking for the privilege to be your instrument. For that privilege, and that my words may be free from mistakes and illusion and cheating propensity and improper conclusions based on empiric, imperfect senses. That's the way that's the way the Bhakti yogi thinks. That's throughout life, right? Again, whether it's speaking or whether it's acting, whether it's eating or whatever it may be.
In the vast, this just gets into the whole idea of like philosophical speculation. Is it like this, or is it like that, or what if the world was like this? And you'll find that in this whole culture of the Vedas, the best way is through Shabda, or Shabda Brahman, or hearing transcendental information descending for thousands of years. That's where we get our information from. So we can say, well, no, I use my senses to figure things out, but there's problems there. So like if Kaustubha is giving a class, he will regularly back up what he's saying with a verse, just like Prabhupada did that
in this commentary.
Quoted 15:15. Yeah. They back up what they say with verses, so it's not like they're just speaking randomly. They're actually quoting other sacred sources. Matter of fact, even in the Mahabharata, like when Bhishma gives an instruction, he always says things like, well, great sages have done this, and historically it's been done like this.
That's the way the yogis think.
It's not dogma.
Yeah. Or if it is dogma, it's a good dogma.
It's good dogma.
Hashtag good dogma.
It's good dogma. Maybe it's the very definition of dogma.
Yeah.
But what's the definition of dogma, Mara? It's accepting something
that's valid and infallible.
That's historically accepted without necessarily questioning it.
It's a principle or set of principles laid down by an authority as incontrovertibly true.
There you go.
So we
good
hate
dogma.
That. In America, we hate that. But in a culture of wisdom, it's appreciated. You know what I mean? It's just like if the martial arts master comes in and says, always grip the hand like this, never like this. You just accept that as true. Why? Because the person's lived a life where he can defeat people with a hand grip. So in a culture of wisdom literature and wisdom living, when the master says, hey, it's better you control your senses, better control your thoughts. This river is sacred. This river, although natural and beautiful, is not the sacred river. This river is actually a goddess. It's a culture of wisdom passing. Ayurvedic medicine. You can't figure this stuff out. You can't figure it out. We just speculate. We by trial and error, we just try different stuff. And we have these theories that come up every 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then we say, well, that was crazy. What were we thinking in the 40s? We gave everybody this drug and they all got sick from it. And we thought we were going to save the world with this drug. This is descending information. And it is transcendental. I don't want to call it dogma, but it's transcendental, trickling down wisdom information. So that's what you'll hear. These the four defects are one of the reasons why we hear from transcendental authorities. Yeah. And that's why we have a responsibility to be sort of chaste to those teachings instead of letting it become like, okay, I know you guys got this thing, but check out my take on it. Here's my take on it, the Raghunath take. We don't want Raghunath's take. We want Raghunath becomes perfected when he takes that transcendental information maybe Kaustubha's giving me, and then I'm giving it to Mara, and then Mara's giving it to Nancy. We all stay within our parameters. And of course, it's going to come out different through the Kaustubha vehicle. You don't have to lose your personality just by giving this trickling down information, right?
That point is so important, like how it plays out in your personality. 'Cause I was thinking that even Vedantins that I know, right? Like even Bhakti-yogis that I know, I see that in this age, the illusory energy is so powerful that people are getting polarized and they're getting complete convictions in things that they actually don't know are true, right?
Sure.
Like I'm completely convinced about this conspiracy. It's like, well, maybe it's true, but how do you know?
They're losing that Vedantin edge.
Yeah, they're losing that edge. Whereas you see those people that really embrace. We hear the example of Shukadeva Goswami. You look at his consciousness, his behavior, where he's at, and when you meet people like that, it's not like they're robots and they're not free or they're somehow bound. Actually, they have the most beautiful kind of true freedom. They're not, it's the other people that are bound by anxiety and stresses and problems.
Stressed and
Right?
anxiety.
And these people are moving through the world free in just a beautiful, graceful way. And that's, so again, you know, to connect or disconnect, that is the question, you know, and we see that how it beautifully plays out in the lives of the great devotees, that connection. What are you, Charo over here?
Charo. No one even knows who Charo is anymore, Kaustubha. Just you and me. Even Mara's like, I don't know who Charo is.
Charo. It's Charo. Google
I
it.
know who Charo is right on the board right now. Okay, thank you. Susan Weiser Mason, she knows.
She knows Charo.
Thanks everybody for joining us on Zoom. These Zoomers, we had almost 100 people today on Zoom. Amazing. 5 in the morning. Who are these people?
What's going on
Listen,
Patreon,
for the
Mara?
others out there, please, again, tell us your story. Tonight on Patreon, we are doing a Sweet Baby Krishna at 8 p.m. and a bunch of other cool Patreon stuff is happening. Join that Patreon party. Support us. We appreciate it. It's a community-supported podcast. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages and make a monthly contribution. For the price of a car payment, you can support us. According to Simon's Catering, it's the #1 podcast on spirituality. Did you know that? It's the #1.
Sounds good. All right. But today there's an asana class, there's a Bhakti recovery group meeting, and there's a Sweet Baby Krishna for Patreon members. What's the asana thing happening today, Mary?
Vault of valuable treasures.
Silas is teaching at 10 a.m. for the asana class today.
Silas.
What's that, Mary? I
Awesome.
couldn't hear you.
Silas is teaching at 10 a.m.
Acha. Acha. Thanks, everybody. Now's a fun time of the part of the day where we take our namaste, break it apart, and put it back together repeatedly. And when you really want to get serious about your spiritual life, you move your arms up and down like this.